Most people fear what hides in abandoned houses, forgotten basements, or dark forests. But the truth is, the most dangerous places are the ones you think are safe, the roads you drive every day, the highways you trust to get you home. On Route 47, there's a stretch of road locals refuse to take after midnight. They say something walks there, something no one has ever survived seeing twice. It was nearly 1 a.m. when Daniel Green began his long drive home after a late work shift. The highway was empty, the sky moonless, and his radio barely caught any stations this far out. He had driven this road 100 times, but that night felt strange, like the darkness was thicker, heavier, and too quiet. Then his headlights swept over a figure standing alone on the shoulder of the highway. A woman, in a torn white dress, barefoot, staring straight at him. He should have kept driving. He should have never slowed down. Daniel eased his foot off the accelerator, unsure whether he was seeing a person or some kind of optical trick created by the night fog. But as he approached, the figure didn't move. She simply stood there, hands limp at her sides, long black hair tangled and covering half her face. Something about her made his chest tighten with unease. Still, Daniel wasn't the type to leave someone stranded. He rolled down his window just a crack, enough to speak without feeling completely exposed. "Ma'am, do you need help?" he called out. No response, not a flinch. He noticed the way her feet angled inward, like she had been standing in the same spot for hours. The wind blew across the road, chilling him, yet her hair didn't move at all. That was the first thing that made his skin crawl. The second was when she slowly lifted her head, not naturally but like something was pulling it up from behind. Her face came into view, pale and tight like old wax. Her eyes were wide, black, empty. Daniel froze, gripping the steering wheel so hard his fingers went numb. Then, she smiled a stretched, unnatural smile that didn't belong on a living person. Daniel panicked and slammed his foot on the gas, tires spinning on the asphalt before catching traction. In his rearview mirror, he saw her still standing there, watching his car until it vanished around the curve. But the farther he drove, the more he sensed he had made a terrible mistake by slowing down at all. Daniel tried to steady his breathing, telling himself it was just a woman in shock or suffering from exposure. But that explanation unraveled quickly when he noticed something wrong with the road ahead. His headlights flickered as if fighting against a thickening darkness. The radio crackled, then died completely. Even the static cut off abruptly, leaving only an unnatural silence. A heavy pressure settled in the car, like someone else was in the back seat, leaning forward. Daniel refused to check the mirror. He kept his eyes fixed ahead, knuckles whitening as he gripped the wheel. Then he felt a soft tap on the rear window, followed by another, and another. Not loud, just deliberate. His throat tightened, but he kept driving, forcing himself not to look. The tapping grew faster, almost impatient. Then came a faint whisper, like a woman breathing directly behind his ear. "Stop!" His whole body shook. He swerved, barely keeping the car from leaving the road. He finally looked at the rearview mirror, saw nothing. No one. The back seat was empty. But outside, illuminated by the moon breaking through the clouds for just a second, Daniel saw a figure running beside the car. The hair whipped backward, even though he couldn't feel any wind. He pressed down harder on the gas, pushing the car to its limit. The woman's face slowly turned toward him, that same stretched smile growing wider as she matched the car's speed effortlessly. Daniel realized then that whatever he saw back there on the side of the road wasn't human. Sweat rolled down Daniel's face as he pushed the car past 80, then 90, the engine whining in protest. Yet the woman the thing kept pace with him, floating along the asphalt like her feet never touched the ground. Her hands began to rise, reaching out toward the window, fingers unnaturally long, bending in ways bones should never bend. Daniel screamed and jerked the wheel, barely avoiding a guardrail. For a split second, the figure flickered gonly to appear again ahead of him, in the middle of the road. He slammed the brakes, tires screeching violently as the car skidded. He shut his eyes, bracing for impact, but none came. When he opened them, the woman stood inches from his hood, staring directly at him through the windshield. Her face twisted sharply into that impossible grin, and her mouth began to open wider, until it split her cheeks. A shrill, piercing wail burst through the glass without breaking it, rattling the entire car and stabbing into Daniel's skull. He threw the car into reverse, tires smoking as he backed away. But the road behind him began to blur, stretching unnaturally, as though refusing to let him escape. The figure stepped closer, her movements jerky and puppet-like, each step scraping the ground. Desperate, Daniel floored the accelerator again, swerving around her and speeding blindly down the warped highway. But even as he drove, he felt the weight in the back seat return. Heavier this time, like someone sitting directly behind him, breathing against his neck. Daniel finally saw the glow of a gas station up ahead and veered toward it. Gravel spraying as he pulled in and jumped out of the car, stumbled backward, expecting to see the woman behind him, but the road was empty. Just silence, just night. The lights of the station flickered, but at least they were lights, something real, something normal. Daniel ran inside, gasping, begging the clerk to lock the doors. The man looked at him strangely, but he obliged, claiming travelers often arrived shaken from things they see on that stretch of highway. Daniel tried to explain, but the clerk simply shook his head and pointed toward an old newspaper clipping taped behind the counter. A photo of a woman in a white dress, smiling unnaturally. The headline read, "Local woman killed in hit and run en route." 47. Witness claims she was standing in the road. Daniel's blood turned to ice. He slowly turned toward the glass door of the station and saw her reflection standing behind him inside the store, smiling that same torn smile. Daniel never made it home that night, and now, drivers report seeing two figures on Route 47 after midnight. Waiting. Please like, share and subscribe for more scary stories.